Hi, welcome. I'm Anna. I'm a clinical psychology doctoral candidate. This channel is about real-life applications to psychology, so if that's something you would like to hear more of, I hope that you decide to stay. Today we're talking about something which one of you requested, and I thought it was just a wonderful video idea, which is the one that got away. The phenomenon where we feel like we missed an opportunity to be with the one, our soulmate, our perfect fit. And just that person that I've sometimes heard people describe as like the one you would leave your future husband for, the person that just sort of feels like you should have ended up together and you didn't. So I'm going to be exploring some of the reasons why this happens. There are no studies on the one that got away phenomenon from what I could find. So this will mostly just be pulling from my clinical and personal knowledge from what I've noticed as someone with a background in psychology. If we're being simplistic, it's a form of rose-tinted glasses. We remember a past relationship as more positive than it really was because our memory is deceiving us. But people rarely think this way about all their exes. So again, why? Why is it that some people feel this one specific ex was the one that got away? The first reason I can think of is the relationship ended during the honeymoon phase, likely due to situational factors rather than something actually starting to go wrong. Like maybe they had to move away for work, maybe their family wouldn't let the two of you be together, maybe it wasn't the right time for the two of you, maybe you just couldn't commit because of life happening. And if this happens, if you broke up during the honeymoon phase, your version of this person is idealized because you didn't yet get to the phase where you see this person's flaws. Your memory of them is still this perfect image where your relationship with them has absolutely no cracks. And in some cases, it might not even be someone that you were in a relationship with. It might be an infatuation or an obsession or a limerence, like people who become obsessed with celebrities that they've never met and they're convinced that this is the person for them. Reason number two, they were the one to end the relationship and they did so in a very graceful and kind manner. You didn't see anything wrong in the relationship, but they for some reason thought that it needed to end, and they did so in a way that was respectful and respectable that made you only want them more. It's not always the case that if someone breaks up with you nicely, you're gonna get hung up on them, but I think it can happen if this was someone that you were truly smitten with, because again, you're in love with this person, you're idealizing them, you're in the honeymoon phase, and they think that the relationship needs to end, but they do it in a way that preserves this idealized image of them in your head. Reason number three, you're trauma bonded to them. This is when this person was with you when you were at your worst and you learned to associate them with safety and comfort, even if they weren't really good for you. In college, I had a friend who was going through kind of a rough patch, and this guy lived down the hall from her and they would sometimes hang out because they were friends. And eventually, of course, it turned into this romantic back and forth, and she became absolutely addicted to him because he had been there when she was crying herself to sleep every night, and on top of that she was attracted to him, so she trauma bonded. She learned to associate him with reprieve from her intense emotional pain, despite the fact that he then went on to cause her actually a lot of pain in the months that followed. But when you're trauma bonded to someone, it's an addiction. It doesn't matter what they do because you just want another high. And like addicts know, these cravings don't usually ever fully go away. There will always be some days when you want to go back to the vice no matter how far you've come. And it's just the same with people that have trauma bonded us. We always want a little bit of more of that taste. Reason number four is you're splitting. If you're not familiar with splitting, it's a defense mechanism where you're basically categorizing people in your life into idealized and devalued versions. Good object, bad object. And let's say that there's someone in your present life that you're currently devaluing, so your retroactive memory goes and idealizes someone from your past. Like let's say you're currently in a relationship, things aren't going so well, so you toss that person to the side and you think about how great your ex was. We all like to feel like we have a point person that we can rely on, someone like a therapist, for example. But what happens when your person does something to piss you off or is no longer trustworthy? You need someone else to rely on. And if you don't have anyone in your present life that can be that person for you, you may turn to someone from the past to idealize. Like my friend that I was just talking about, part of the reason she was so upset in the first place was because of a man from her past. So she devalued this man once he proved to be bad for her and started to idealize this new man who was there for her. And she was pretty much splitting them into camps of all good and all bad. Splitting, by definition, doesn't allow us to see the nuance of reality for all that it is. It's a fantasy, an idealized image that allows us to stay stuck. Number 5 is you never got a sense of closure from the relationship. Maybe because of the nature of the breakup, something like them passing away, them moving away, or you staying friends. You never really got that emotional sense that, oh, this is over, this is a finite, absolute ending. And when that happens, you may find yourself feeling like they were the one that got away. They didn't get to show you how bad for you they could have been if you had lived the relationship out. Reason number 6 is that you were actually the one to hurt them to no fault of their own. This one is when you sort of took someone for granted, didn't appreciate their good qualities, really deeply hurt them, the two of you broke up, and later you came to terms with what you did. I heard a story of a woman who was texting other guys and her husband found out and divorced her. And she loved him, she wanted to be with him, but she made a mistake that he couldn't forgive, and then she was left with the consequences of her actions and realizing that she sacrificed a good thing over nothing. Reason number 7, they were perfect for you on paper and you missed whatever supply they gave you. Let's say that they were really rich or generous or famous or charismatic or popular or similar to you in all the right ways, or friends with your family or friends with their friends, whatever it may be. And maybe you didn't love them or the relationship that much, but you loved what it provided for you a lot. So now when you think about it through those rose-tinted glasses I was talking about, you don't remember necessarily what it was about them that you missed, but you remember really loving whatever benefits you had when the two of you were together, and you're kind of conflating the two and thinking of them as the one that got away. So those are 7 reasons that I can think of. Just some final thoughts. Breakups are usually very painful, and I think this video shows that there's a reason for that. We need that hurt and the realization that there is something very wrong in a relationship in order to move on, because moving on from someone that you love is already hard enough. When that resentment or pain or hate or closure doesn't come, you may be left with that feeling of love and nothing else. And you may continue to think that this person is the one that got away, despite the fact that there were reasons why the relationship ended, or there could have been reasons why the relationship wasn't good for you that you hadn't yet discovered. It's interesting, I was talking to someone one time, it was a while ago, and he told me that his ex and him had broken up because her family was really Christian and they wouldn't accept him because he wasn't. And he said, of course I still love her. I think if you really loved somebody, you never stop loving them. This sort of attitude, at the time I thought like, wow, that's so romantic. Like, that's such a nice way of viewing things. But now when I look back on it, it doesn't seem so much an absolute truth on the nature of love, but rather his own interpersonal style. He was this more go with the flow, warm person who didn't seem like he'd explode over someone wanting to break up with him. And I think that kind of style can breed really fertile ground for the one that got away phenomenon, because there isn't resentment, there isn't hate, there's only the memory of love left. And for him, it resulted in him thinking that every single ex he had was basically the one that got away. He still loved all of them. So I think the formula to the one that got away phenomenon is this idealization or infatuation plus no motivation for you to not be together on your side. Either you did something wrong or the relationship had to end, but it wasn't that you wanted to not be with them. You still idealize them, you still want to be with them. For some reason the relationship ended, and now you're left with this feeling that they were the one that got away from me. But remember, this doesn't mean that they were the one for you. Obviously, there were reasons why the relationship ended or why it wouldn't have worked if you had given it a chance. There are also billions of people out there, so chances are you could find someone who is even more compatible, who you love even more in the long run, even once the idealization wears off. So don't trust the feeling that they're the one that got away too much. It might very well be lying to you. It might very well be your emotions or your memory sort of clouding your judgment. Try to look forward, not backwards. So I hope this helped. If it did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in a few days. Please let me know what other topics you want me to talk about, because this was one of your suggestions, like I mentioned, and it was a great one. So any more like these are welcome.